They say the broken immigration system is about to be fixed. President Obama supports comprehensive immigration reform, and he seems to have plenty of support in the democratically controlled Congress. So is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Illegal immigrants, will they get some kind of amnesty? With us today is a person who can help us solve a lot of these problems, Eduardo Juarez. He's the president of the International Immigrants Foundation in Manhattan. It's a pleasure having you on the program, Eduardo.
It's great to be with you, Miguel.
We're old friends, and I know you've been fighting this immigration issue for a long, long time. You have a wonderful center in Manhattan that helps immigrants. You have a new building. We're going to talk about your fairly new building on 44th Street. I'm very impressed by that. But let's talk in terms of immigration reform, first of all. You know, are you optimistic?
Well, I think we cannot be naive in thinking that we're going to have a new immigration reform at this particular time. Our country needs to fix our economic situation first. I think that this is not the best climate for the undocumented population to have an immigration reform. Let's review what happened in 2007 with the Kennedy-McCain bill. And if we were to go into that and understand that President Obama used to be the president of that council, whereby McCain, of course, was very active. And if we examine that bill did not contain the elements that were necessary to really award undocumented immigrants with the legalization that they were needed. I call it a program that basically was providing a legalization, a conditional, I would say conditional legalization, conditional to the financial situation of our nation. And I think that if that bill were to have been signed into law today, many undocumented immigrants would have probably would have to leave the country or would be deported as a consequence because of the fact that will not fit the criteria of the moment, you know, the point system and all that was required. So are we ready for an amnesty? I'd say no, there will be no amnesty. The possibility of a legalization program eventually, but I think that if we want something good that will contain the elements that are necessary to legalize an undocumented population, we'll have to be patient.
More patient than a lot of people want to be, including people who you've been part of this movement for a long time. We see Obama, President Obama, basically saying, "Yes, I want to do it, but not so fast." And people in the Democrat majority in Congress saying the same thing. They promised that they were going to fix this problem, but now they seem to be saying, "Okay, maybe not this year, but the next." And then next year, who knows, because next year is again, the political cycle begins again, elections come up again. So, you know, and then there's also the border thing, where you hear people saying, not until you close the border first. You got to secure the border before we consider some kind of amnesty. Is that what's going to happen?
Well, first of all, I think, Miguel, that we have to understand and realize that the current immigration law offers a lot of benefits to immigrants that are in the country that wish to legalize. Should they wait for a new immigration reform that we do not know exactly what's going to contain? So why not start your legalization now, at this particular moment? Why don't you start your permanent residency at this particular time?
Not everybody qualifies.
Well, I would say that the majority, I would say that a high percentage of our undocumented population qualifies to become legal residents. Let's enumerate. I would say that millions of undocumented immigrants are already in process of becoming legal permanent residents. They have already approved petitions, but they are in limbo. In limbo because of the acts that were enacted in 1996. And that, of course, created a big problem because of the fact that, made this very bad law that if immigrants that are undocumented and have violated the law, they are inadmissible to re-enter the United States for a period of over 10 years. And, of course, that made created a society that is just actually that can legalize. Many of them are married to U.S. citizens, and they have to just wait until the law changes or Section 245I of the Immigration Act is just reinstated. So But in general, I would say that probably a third of the undocumented population is already in process of legalization. And then we have the other two-thirds that, well, they need to start their papers. There are ways of doing it. Those that do not have family that are U.S. citizens or permanent residents, there is a possibility for them to become legal through a job offer. And that, of course, brings the question, a job offer at this particular time when there are so many people unemployed. Mm-hmm. And the question we have to ask ourselves is, who is doing the jobs of the undocumented population? Who is washing dishes? And who is actually doing the hard labor that they are? And of course, once we realize that, we understand that there is still a great niche for people to become legal residents.
But at the same time, there are people now, the people who are against some kind of amnesty or some kind of legalization for the illegal immigrants here, who are now arguing, now is not the time. Before, the excuse was 9/11. Yes. Oh, 9/11, yes. We need to be more secure than ever. Now it's the economy. Yes. And they always have a good excuse to say, no, not yet. We yes. can't give any form of legalization or amnesty. So now the excuse, again, as you pointed out, is a valid excuse. There aren't enough jobs for Americans now, so they do have a valid excuse, don't they?
Well, I mean, let's understand that, and I want to point out the issue of the fact that immigrants are doing the jobs that Americans choose not to do.
Mm-hmm. Even now? Even
now,
in this situation?
at this particular time. You know, when you go to factories that are assembling furniture or in many areas and industries of our nation,
at this particular time. You go to the car wash, you go to the local restaurant, the guy in the kitchen washing the dishes.
Exactly, yeah. Now, these are the jobs that are being done by undocumented immigrants, mm-hmm. mainly undocumented immigrants. And many of them are working in the lands, you know, just collecting and working with vegetables and mm-hmm. all that. Now, another issue that we have to realize and understand that is a very valid point is, as Americans, we have to realize and understand that our population is aging and is aging dramatically. And immigrants are indispensable to the social fabric of our nation.
They're the workers.
Yes.
They're younger and they're willing to work.
Yes, because we have to think of this, Miguel, is who is going to serve this aging population if we kick these immigrants out? Immigrants are essential to the United States of America. And so, you know, I understand that we have to see the economics, but the economics, I think, comes second. The social issue is something that we must consider first.